everyone, I'm Reverend Birgit Gaudreau, and welcome back to Know Your Bible. And last week we were studying Genesis chapter 49, and we know that Jacob spoke prophecy over the tribe of Israel, his 12 sons. So Jacob has passed away, and now we're going to see how his family and the people responded to his death. Genesis chapter 50, verse 1. Then Joseph fell on his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. So the scripture here is showing us that in humility and love, that we are to part with the loved one with a hug or kiss. This is a good practice and part of grieving. Verse 2 and 3. And Joseph commanded his servants and physicians to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Israel. 40 days were required for him, for such are the days required for those who are embalmed. And the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. So at this time it was forbidden for the Jewish people to be cremated or embalmed. But Joseph, he is the governor of the land, and he wanted this body to be respected in a very special way. Let us read together verse 4 to 7. Now when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spoke to the household of Pharaoh, saying, If now I found favor in your eyes, please speak in the hearing of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Behold, I am dying in my grave, which I dug for myself in the land of Canaan. There you shall bury me. Now therefore please let me go up and bury my father, and I will come back. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury your father, as he made you swear. So Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt. Pharaoh has great respect for Joseph and is giving him escort to Canaan to make sure he is getting there and back in a safe way. Let us read together verse 8 and 9, as well as all the house of Joseph, his brothers, and his father's house. Only their little ones, their flocks and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very good gathering. The brothers, they left their children and all their wealth behind to testify that they are coming back to Goshen after they have buried their father. Let us read together verse 10 and 11. When they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan, and they mourned there with a great and very solemn lamentation, he observed 7 days of mourning for his father. And when the inhabitants of the land of Canaanites saw the mourning at the threshing floor of Atad, they said, This is a deep mourning of the Egyptians. Therefore its name was called Abel Mezraim, which is beyond the Jordan. This burial place was only bought for the heritage and patriarchs of the family. Now they stayed there for another 7 days, and they grieved and gave eulogies and celebrated his life at the burial place. Verse 12 to 14. So his father did for him just as he had commanded them, for his sons carried him to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite as property for a burial place. And after he had buried his father, Joseph returned to Egypt, he and his brothers and all who went up with him to bury his father. Joseph did exactly what he was supposed to do, and Joseph's priority were God's priority. The brothers, they were thinking that Joseph was holding back until their father was buried. They were afraid that maybe Joseph would be angry and even put them in prison, but they were strongly mistaken. Let us read verse 15 to 17, and here it gets a little interesting. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "Perhaps Joseph will hate us and may actually repay us for all the evil which we did to him." So they sent messengers to Joseph, saying, "Before your father died, he commanded, saying, 'Thus you shall say to Joseph, I beg you, please forgive the trespass of your brothers and their sins, for they did evil to you. Now please forgive the trespass of the servants of the God of your father.' And Joseph wept when he spoke to him." So here the brothers were lying because Jacob, their father, did not tell the brothers before he died that they should beg for forgiveness in front of Joseph. So they planned this all out again, and Joseph, he is weeping because he knows they are not telling the truth, and he knows they haven't even changed. So Joseph saw right through them. He knew his brothers. And here we're going to read verse 18 to 20. Then his brothers also went and fell down before his face. And they said, "Behold, we are your servants." And Joseph said to them, "Do not be afraid, for I am in the place of God. But as for you, you mean evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring it about, as it is this day, to save many people's lives." We really need to remember that God does not take part in evil to turn into good. That is not God's character. Verse 21. "Now therefore do not be afraid, I will provide for you and your little ones." And he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. Joseph spent 93 years in Egypt. That is most of his life. And so he also seen 3 generations in his lifetime. Let us read together the rest of this chapter, verse 22 to 26. "So Joseph dwelt in Egypt, and he and his father's household, and Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children to the 3rd generation. The children of Mashir, the son of Manasseh, were also brought up on Joseph's knees. And Joseph said to his brethren, 'I am dying, but God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land to the land of which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob.'" So Joseph gave this promise on to his children and the next generation of the promised land. Verse 25, "Then Joseph took an oath from the children of Israel, saying, 'God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from there.' So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin." So after Joseph was embalmed and put in a coffin, he was also brought to the land of Canaan and buried with his father. So we know that Israel is to become a blessing and a light in the nations. So everyone, this ends the book of Genesis, and I had great joy in bringing the study to you. I know it took weeks and months to go through, but I hope and I pray that it has touched some lives and has brought some of you to Christ. Please help this channel and subscribe.